Hi guys, it's Ross again from Energize, and as promised I'm back with all of the answers to your alkaline water questions. So in this video I'm about to teach you 1. How alkaline water ionizers work and what they do exactly. I take you through the nuts and bolts of exactly what an ionizer is and why it works and why it's different from other alkaline water methods. Secondly, I'm going to teach you the best, cheapest alkaline water methods that you can do at home, which one I would personally pick and why it's the best and the pros and cons in each. Thirdly, I'm going to teach you exactly how much water you need to drink each day, specifically you, and how this can lead to improved health benefits. And finally, the most common question I was asked last week, which is how alkaline water works with the stomach acid that your body produces. These were the 4 most commonly asked questions in my gigantic Q&A, and they have led to the creation of this video, which I think is definitely one of the best, most useful guides I've ever made, let alone video. Now, and this is important, so you remember last week I invited every single one of you to ask me your most important alkaline water questions. Now, if you have asked a question, I promise you it has been answered. It took me a little bit longer than I expected because there were so many questions, but I've answered every single one of them. In the end, there were over 700 questions. So it took me quite a long time, but it was definitely worth it because I really believe this will have helped and made a difference to so many of you and helped you along in your health journey to reach your health goals no matter what they are. So here we go. Here are the answers to the 4 most commonly asked questions. Number 1, how water ionizers work and what they do. So one of the most commonly asked questions was about exactly what water ionizers are, why they're different to reverse osmosis or distilled, and what are the benefits of water ionizers over other methods such as pH drops and lemon water and sodium bicarbonate and everything else. Now, I could spend all day talking about this, but I want to keep it concise. It's a really important question. It's a question that I had for many, many years before I dived deep into alkaline water. I had no clue what a water ionizer was or why it was any different from RO or distilled or just using pH drops. So I want to give this some focus, but I want to keep it concise. So there's 3 main things you're looking for from your water. If you get all 3 of these, your life, your health, your energy and your vitality is going to go through the roof very, very quickly. They sort of compound together. It's that whole greater than the sum of its parts theory. And these 3 things are, number 1, the pH, so the alkalinity of the water. Number 2, the ORP, which stands for oxidation reduction potential, or redox. This is the measure of antioxidants in the water. This is something that so few people know, but is so critical to the quality of your water. And number 3 is filtration. So unlike every other method out there, all the methods I'll talk about in my definitive guide, the ionizers hit all 3 of these. And let me explain how by explaining exactly how the ionizer works. So the ionizer is either a countertop or an under-sink unit that you attach to your main water pipe in your kitchen or your utility room or wherever you have your ionizer housed. If you've got a countertop model, it attaches directly onto the tap. There's a diverter that just screws directly onto the tap, and yes, you can still use your tap as a normal tap. That's what everybody asks me. There's just a little black lever that you can switch between using it as a normal tap or using the ionizer. That's an aside. If you've got an under sink unit, it's plumbed underneath your sink directly onto your main water pipe, and then the water comes up through a new faucet that you install on your kitchen sink. So the water either comes through your tap or it comes through your mains pipe and into a faucet via the ionizer. Now immediately as soon as the water goes into the ionizer, it is filtered, and this gets rid of most of the stuff you want to get rid of. Things like bacteria or mold, fluoride, chlorine or chloramines. But importantly, none of the beneficial alkaline minerals are filtered out, and that's because they're a much smaller molecule size. So they pass through the filter, and all the nasties that you want to get rid of, they get trapped by the filter, much larger molecule size. From there, the water then passes over the main event. It passes over the plates in the ionizer, and this is the really clever part. Once the water enters this section, it has a really specific low voltage electrical current pass through it, and this causes the soluble minerals in the water to be attracted either to a positive pole or a negative pole. And when this happens, the water separates into acid and alkaline. This is the ionisation process. And we drink the alkaline water and we use the acid water externally for skin, for healing, for plants, for disinfection. There's so many uses for the acid water. In fact, there's a guide right below this video that explains all of those uses for the acid water. It's quite incredible. I personally love my ioniser as much for the acid water as the alkaline. So this process that is on the screen now shows how the water is separated into H positive, which is the acidic water, and OH negative ions, which is the alkaline water. And this electrolysis process is also what's responsible for giving you the huge antioxidant content of the alkaline water and for microclustering the water. So that's quite scientific, but to keep it simple, basically it's number one, the water is filtered, number two, the ioniser splits the water into two, and number three, out of one tap then comes the alkaline ionised water, and out of the other tap comes the acidic oxidised water. So the big benefit of this, and going back to those three things I mentioned up front that you need for optimal health from your water, you get number one, you get the alkaline pH water. Number two, you get the negative ORP water, you get that antioxidant rich water. Number three, the water is super filtered. Now an extra benefit that I just touched on quickly there is the microclustering. There's a huge scientific bit behind that, but it basically means the water is up to 8 times more hydrating than tap water or bottled water. And this microclustering also means that if you're using supplements like green drinks or alkaline minerals, they'll be even more effective as the water can carry them deeper into your cells and make sure that they're absorbed optimally. Now in comparison, reverse osmosis water gives you really good filtration. It filters absolutely everything out of the water completely. As much as you can possibly say something filters everything, reverse osmosis is a fantastic filter, but it leaves you with an acidic pH and a positive ORP. Now the positive ORP is so important here. It basically means it's oxidizing to the body, so it creates free radicals. Now I don't want to go into a huge piece about what antioxidants are and what free radicals are, but we've all heard of them. We know free radicals bad, antioxidants good. So you don't want to be drinking 3 to 4 to 5 litres of water that is oxidizing to the body. You want that water, it's the most volume of anything that you put into your body on a daily basis, so you want the quality to be high and you want it to be beneficial. Distilled water is exactly the same, so it gives you good filtration, but it has an acidic pH and a positive ORP. The other thing that I'm not particularly keen on with reverse osmosis in distillers is the amount of waste. They probably both waste about 50 to 60% of the water that goes through them. They're just literally, that water goes down the drain. So on all 5 of those counts, the ORP, the pH, the filtration, the microclustering and the waste, the ioniser for me really is the way to go. So that brings me really nicely on to question number 2 actually, which is the best cheap alkaline water method. So the cheap alkaline water methods are lemon water, adding bicarbonate of soda or other minerals to the water, or using pH drops. And I'll go through each of these individually very quickly now and then summarise, because again I want to keep this quite clear and concise for you. Firstly, lemon water, which is basically lukewarm water with lemon squeezed in. I usually squeeze about 1/3 of a lemon for every 500 ml of water that I drink, which is roughly about a pint in English terms. And it works because although the lemons are a citric acid, something I'm asked all the time, they actually have an alkaline effect on the body once consumed. And this is basically because they're an extremely low sugar fruit. So there's almost none of the sugar in there that you get with other fruits, but they contain a high concentration of alkaline minerals. So once you ingest the lemon water, the body uses those alkaline minerals and it has an alkalizing effect on the body. And that's an important distinction, because with all foods and drinks, we're not talking about necessarily whether they're alkaline or acid, because that implies their natural state. Of course, lemons are acid in their natural state, but we're talking about the effect they have on the body. So lemons have an alkalizing effect on the body, and that's because generally, again, with foods and drinks, it's all about the mineral content of the food. So with lemon water, you do get a nice, slightly alkaline effect. I really like to do this personally first thing in the morning because I believe it's really cleansing. It tastes great, it gets the metabolism started, and I think it's really good for the digestive system. But I only do it once, and I only do it in the morning because lemon water just doesn't have a strong enough alkaline effect for me, and adding more lemon doesn't help either. And if this is all you're doing to get your alkaline water, it's also worth bearing in mind that you're not actually getting any filtration benefit or any of the really important ORP benefit, especially if you're mixing lemon into tap or bottled water. So you're only really getting a tiny fraction of the benefit that you can get if you used an ionizer or some of the other methods. It's great first thing in the morning, but it's probably not an all-round solution. Secondly is using baking soda. Now, using baking soda is similar to the lemon situation before, except the alkalinity is slightly stronger. The downside here is that you have to use a really large amount of baking soda to make proper pH 9.5 water. So it's not really sustainable to do more than once per day. Plus, again, you don't get the ORP benefit or the filtration benefit. So if you do this one, make sure you only really do it once per day. If you did it more than once per day, you're probably going to be getting really a far too high concentration of that one specific alkaline mineral of the sodium bicarbonate every day, because honestly you have to use quite a lot per glass. And if you did this for 4 litres of water per day, you'd really be getting way too much sodium bicarbonate per day. Another look out for this one: if you are going to do this, please make sure your baking soda is free from aluminium. A lot of the cheap brands put aluminium in as an anti-caking agent to stop your sodium bicarbonate forming one big hard block. But you can get baking sodas that are free from aluminium, so please look out for those. Now finally in this section is pH drops, and this is probably the best of the 3, but it does come with a downside. pH drops are basically a really highly concentrated alkaline mineral solution. It's really super concentrated alkaline minerals in filtered water. So you just add a couple of drops. It's different for every brand, so follow the instructions on your bottle. But you just add a few drops to your water, and there you go. The pH goes up to about 8 to 8.5 for most tap. If you're coming from a base of about 6.5 to 7, which is where most tap waters fall, it will get you up to about 8 to 8.5, which is pretty damn good. Like I said, this is probably the best of the cheaper solutions, but I put cheap in inverted commas because it's not actually all that cheap. pH drops basically retail for between 25 to 40 pounds for a month's supply. In American dollars, that's about $40 to 65. So that's for 1 month. So the downside here is you have to keep buying them over and over again, and of course that's 1 month for one person. If you and your partner, that's probably only going to last you 2 to 3 weeks. If your kids are using them as well, if you've got a larger family, you can see how it can get quite expensive. So with the pH drops, you're getting the alkalinity, and you're getting way more alkalinity than with the baking soda or with the lemon water, but again you're getting no filtration, you're getting no ORP benefit. So the water that you're carrying the pH drops in could still be full of all the stuff that's in tap water that we're trying to avoid. Now this cost is quite interesting because this is principally why I set up an instalment plan for the ionizers. I tried as hard as I could to get it so that the ionizer instalment plan per month matched about the same as the pH drops would cost per month. So with an ionizer you're getting all of those extra benefits for about really the same per month as you're paying for pH drops, and that's even if there's only one of you using it. And with the ionizer, of course, you get the antioxidants, you get the filtration, the microclustering, and the acid water and everything else. Plus it's just on tap. So it makes it really easy. In fact, and let me reframe that, it makes it really impossible to forget to have it because it's right there on your tap. So of the 3 methods, ideally I'd say go for the pH drops. If you can't afford an ionizer right now, go for the pH drops. Try to filter the water somehow as well. Don't just settle for tap water and pH drops if you can avoid it. If you can't afford the pH drops, the baking soda or the lemon water, maybe 1 each per day. Don't mix them together. And again, I just want to reiterate that just squeezing more lemon in, adding more baking soda than the teaspoon, or putting in extra pH drops in isn't going to work. It just doesn't work like that. And an extra special mention to please follow the instructions on the pH drops bottle. Do not add more than is stated on the bottle. It just gives you no benefit, and it does give the negative. It will make you feel nauseous, it will make you feel sick, it will make you feel lightheaded, it could lead to detox symptoms. Ultimately these are highly concentrated drops and you should only use as stated on the bottle. Okay, so the third question that was most commonly asked is how much water you should drink each day. Now, this is quite an easy one to summarise, but there are some levels of detail that I can go into really quickly that will make this way more accurate and way more useful for you. So generally speaking, if someone just stops me and asks me how much water should I drink each day, I say try to drink at least 3 litres per day, up to about 4 to 4.5 per day. This is a safe range. It's a great range. If you can get to that much, you will notice the benefit literally straight away. Most people, and I know that all of you guys out there watching this are not most people because you're way more advanced than the general public, but most people would be getting by on about a litre of water per day max. I think a lot of people I know literally just don't drink any water. It blows me away. But I know that even you guys that are watching this video now would probably be thinking that 2 litres would be about right. 3 litres sounds like a lot. 4 litres sounds unbelievably difficult. But let me just tell you that it's all about habit. It's really, really easy to build up to. Don't go from 1 litre a day to 4 litres a day in one day. That's just crazy. You'll never do it. You'll be in and out of the toilet more times than anything else, and you'll never get anything done. So build up slowly. Add an extra glass or an extra 500 millilitres every 2nd or 3rd day. Over the course of maybe 10 days, 2 weeks, try to go from wherever you are now to about 3 to 3.5 litres. Then take your time, step it up then to 4 litres, 4.5 litres. It's so much easier if you take the alkaline diet step by step, and this counts for every element of the alkaline diet. With food, don't just go from whatever you're doing now to trying to be perfectly alkaline all at once. Take it step by step. Add some extra green foods in each day. Try to cut out one of your vices each week. It just works better that way. People that try to be perfect from day one generally don't succeed with the alkaline diet, and that's the same with water and hydration. So to make your daily hydration schedule a little bit more specific, here is a calculation that I use. It's widely accepted within the health community. It works well for me, and that is 1 litre of water per 18 kilograms of body weight. So if you weigh about 80 kilograms, then you drink about 4.4 litres. This allows for you, if you're a little bit heavier or if you're a little bit lighter than the average person, it allows you to optimize your hydration goal a little bit more specifically. And then the final level of detail that you can add on top of this is how much sweat-inducing exercise that you do. So basically this is really simple. You just want to add an extra 8 to 10 fluid ounces, which is about 300 mils of water for every 10 to 15 minutes of exercise that you do. And try to do this throughout your exercise as well, but don't swig, sip, always sip during exercise. And that's basically really simple. You don't need to be specific with that. You don't need a measuring jug or anything like that. Just add a glass of water for every 15 minutes of exercise that you do. And there you go. I hope that makes it really, really easy for you to follow. Now, the final question is a little bit more scientific and a little bit more tricky, but it was asked over and over again in the Q&A. This was actually probably the most asked question, which surprised me a bit, but it was great because it's a question that I love to answer, and if I find a question that you guys ask me a lot, I know it's important. So here we go. It was basically asked in many different ways, and it is this: if the stomach is full of acid, won't the alkaline water be neutralized as soon as I drink it? Like I say, it was asked in loads of different ways, but the answer is basically the same, and you can get the gist of what the question is getting at. So basically, the stomach produces hydrochloric acid or gastric acid on demand, and it produces it on demand to help digest the acid-forming foods that we eat. So when we eat acid-forming crap foods, the stomach produces as much hydrochloric acid as it needs to digest that food specifically, and then it goes away. So if we consume healthy alkaline foods, it basically doesn't need to produce the acid. Now, when the acid is produced, the body then needs to neutralise this acid. So it creates sodium bicarbonate and other alkaline minerals to neutralise these acids. And this is the problem of eating too many acid foods and why leading an acidifying diet can cause so many issues. Because we've only evolved with a tiny, tiny alkaline buffering system that was based upon our pre-modern diet. So this buffer is now stupidly too small compared to the modern Western diet. There just isn't enough of a buffer to neutralise all these acids that we're consuming. And when there's too much acid produced that the body can't buffer, when it can't draw upon this buffer to neutralise these acids, you start to get the symptoms of the acid-alkaline imbalance, which is most commonly seen as acid reflux, which is basically too much acid for the body to handle. So if you look at the foods that doctors tell you to avoid when you've got reflux, things like coffee, which has got a pH of 3, fizzy drinks that have got a pH of 2.5, wine that's got a pH of 3.5, etc. So you can start to see how this theory fits together. Basically, when we consume a heap of acid-forming foods, the stomach has to produce a whole lot of acid to digest them. When there isn't enough of an alkaline buffer to neutralise this acid, the body then has to pull alkaline minerals from within the body, often pulling calcium from bones, for instance, which is why an acidic diet can lead to osteoporosis. It leaves a massive amount of acid that the body can't deal with, and this acid either comes back up the esophagus to be acid reflux, which is what most people feel with heartburn, or the acid then gets stored away in our fat, in our joints. So when you get aching joints and muscles, when you start to put on weight, it's because the body is trying to protect our vital organs from these acids. And this is also responsible for yeast overgrowth in our body, for the candida problems, and a whole range of other problems. And it's all because there is not enough of an alkaline buffer in our body to neutralize these acids. So the benefit of the alkaline diet isn't necessarily because you're putting lots of alkalinity in and the body loves alkalinity. It's because when you put that alkalinity in, the body doesn't have to buffer it. It doesn't have to do anything with it to get rid of it. And of course, the alkaline foods are all healthy foods like vegetables, salads, nuts, seeds and oils and alkaline water and all those healthy things that you know are good for you, whereas acid foods are all unhealthy foods. There aren't any healthy acid foods. It's things like sugar, chips, pizzas, crisps, chocolate, alcohol, caffeine, trans fats, cigarettes, all those things you know are bad for you are acid. So again, that compounds on top. It doesn't just create all the acid that can't be neutralized by the body, but it hasn't got any goodness. It's got all the preservatives, it's got all the sugar, it's got all the things that you know are going to clog your arteries, lead to massive health complications. And so please, please, please eat alkaline. At least 70% of your diet alkaline, drink alkaline water, exercise, meditate, stay stress-free, live an alkaline lifestyle. So I hope all of this really, really helps. This has been such a journey for me over the last week answering all these questions. I feel like I've really engaged and connected with a whole load of you, and it's been amazing. I did get asked a lot of times, and I haven't addressed it here because I wanted to do a video especially about it, which is the general question of how do I make alkaline water at home. So I'm going to release that video in the next few days, maybe a week. It depends on how quickly I can get to it. But until then, if you haven't got it already, see the link directly below this video to get a copy of my free definitive guide to alkaline water. It basically goes through every alkaline water method, the pros and cons of each. It's got a hydration cheat sheet. It's got how to remember to drink enough water, which types of water bottles are the best. Everything you need to know about alkaline water is in that guide. So until then, if you enjoyed this Q&A, please click on the Facebook like button below this video, and please share it with your friends and your fans if you've got a Facebook page as well. It means the world to me. Thank you so much for participating. It's been a great adventure, and I really, really hope to connect with you again soon.